Being 6 o'clock, we call the Board of Trustees meeting to order and pledge allegiance. If we don't stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. And if clerk could call roll.
Maloney,
Here.
Cronin,
Here.
Ermeling, Jordan,
Here.
Wyland, Zagami.
Okay, if we could just, a little bit of change up here, if we could just move out one of these out of the way quick as 47. If the board will allow that. Okay, 47. Discussion and or action on the Public Works and Utility Committee recommendation to authorize staff to draft a 7-year contract with Harder's Fox Valley Disposal to include weekly refuse and every other week recycling services to the village and town of Weston for all single-family homes up to 4-unit apartments. Discuss, or you want to get it on the table? Get it on the table, so I'm looking for a motion.
Motion.
Motion to approve by Ermeling.
Second.
Second, motion to put it on. And a second by Husheng. On the discussion.
So that, I'm sorry, that was a motion to discuss or
I'm
that?
sorry, discuss. I said it wrong. Any discussion? So if you remember, the Public Works was unanimous with the choice of a 7-year contract with Harder's. And now what we're doing is we'd be okaying staff and our attorney to work out an agreement. Correct?
Correct. The agreement would still come back to the Board of Trustees.
Right.
The only, and it's not really even that much of an issue, but I wonder how, if the residents are going to be grumbling about the fact that they have to go out to Ringo for their bulk drop off. That's,
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, my question on that was why we couldn't hold it here. And I brought that up at the last couple of meetings.
I think there's some options there that we could do, and it was brought up at the Public Works. There was actually quite a healthy discussion and debate on all of the issues, and that was one of them. And but if it were out there, it's 3 miles. So,
I know,
yep,
but some people
Yep.
have problems
Yep.
getting it where they are.
but
so.
they'd be getting brand new carts too, so.
And we certainly could try
Mhm.
and see if it would be an issue, and if it was, then we could adjust from there. If we felt after a year it was an issue. We've asked the question informally off and on, and we haven't had strong concerns. I think the other piece is if it's additional recyclables, Harder's has agreed that for the $2 for the bag, they would pick it up in addition to being able to drive out there if it's just recyclables. So we, we had a conversation in the clerk's office because they take a lot of the phone calls. Do we think there would be concerns expressed? And it was felt like if they had both options, we have a lot of people that come and do the additional bags for the $2. So.
Yeah, because I know that was the other concern I was gonna comment is that I know different people that, I don't know where they get all the boxes from, but they have all these cardboard boxes and they just take them over here. And now if they have to run out to Ringo, that was a concern.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Any more discussion? Hearing none?
So are we making a motion? Because there was 3 different options on so I want to be clear on
That's
what the
right.
motion
Yeah,
is.
That's right, that's right. So
I
that's
just
what
want
you're
to
gonna do.
discuss it, get it
So-
on the table.
Yep. So right now, your motion was to discuss and on the
Right,
table.
get it on the
So the
table.
person now making a motion will have to select which way we're going. What's your pleasure?
Do you think maybe we should have some sort of poll online in our weekly newsletter before we make a move like this?
That's a $300,000 savings. I don't know, have we pulled any,
350 extra.
350,000?
Well, that's the only reason I'm considering it. I mean, that's a lot of money
I-
and the
you know,
taxpayers are watching us.
It's a good point, but the board is gonna have to approve this once the agreement is made. And maybe at that point, there are some options that we could come up with that would keep it not such a travel, for that.
Okay.
Okay,
I move to authorize village staff to draft a contract for village and town of Weston residential curbside refuse and recycling service beginning January 1st, 2026 with Harder Fox Valley Disposable for the duration of 7 years with a continued weekly refuse and bi-weekly recycling with an annual increase of the lesser of CPI, garbage and trash collection, or 5% of all other services outlined in the RFP.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by Zagami and a second by Cronin. Any more on the discussion? Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, moving back. Let's go into number 4, trustee vacancy interviews. So we're gonna do this like we did the last time. There's 4 pieces of paper in here with 4 names on them. And we're gonna pick a name out of here and then read it out loud. And this is the order of the interviews. So the first one that she's picking right now will stay in this room. And the other 3 will be sequestered in our conference room with your host, Sean Oysterbrink. And the first one is
Even super?
Evan Soper.
It says
You're not,
even.
yeah, Evan, I'm sorry, Evan, right? Yep, so you're stay here.
You
Barb,
can actually come up to the table right here and you can grab that.
Barb, you wanna pick one? This is the second person that'll come in.
Glenn Olson.
Brent Olson is number 2. Jamie? One more. This is number 3,
Mark Kern.
Mark Kern. And let's see, I would dare to guess.
I wonder who this would be now.
Okay,
Never pronounce it
So that-
correctly. I know I don't.
that's the order, and it's we're doing it this way so after you're interviewed, you can stay in the room if you want to hear the next candidate. So thank you all. And we'll send someone out to talk to Mark or talk to Sean. All right, so we have some questions that we're gonna ask the same questions. And they're all gonna come from our administrator, Jamie Gibbart. And I want to caution the board that if you ask any questions, any additional questions, you almost have to ask them now on the first one. Because all the questions have to be the same to each candidate. So just kind of remember that, okay? Jamie, proceed.
What motivated you to submit an application for the trustee vacancy?
Yeah, so I'll start out a little bit about myself. I'm Evan Soper. I'm a recent college graduate, so I graduated from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville back in May. Moved up here with my wife, we just got married in June. Been up in
Congratulations.
Weston, thank you, since last June.
Oh, okay.
We love Weston so far. I would say out of all the different areas in Wausau, this is one of the places we would strongly consider calling our starting a home, starting a family. So we really love it here. I'm called to community service. It's something that has been instilled in me since I've been young. My dad's been a part of several city committees back home in Menominee Falls. That's where I'm from. My father-in-law is an alderman in the city of Waukesha. So I've been surrounded my entire life by people who serve the community. I felt a calling to that myself. I've been in Valley Boys State when I was in high school. I worked for the city of Waukesha in the summer when I was in college, doing Parks and Rec stuff for them. So it's always been a calling of mine to do community service, fairly young, so I think it's a great opportunity to start pursuing this. That's why I was motivated to submit an application.
Thank you. What do you believe is the greatest strength of the village?
Greatest strength of a village, it's very welcoming. I mean, that's one of the first things I noticed when moving here, the amount of stuff they do for the community. We love the farmers market. That's something we enjoy doing. We felt very safe. We love walking around the different neighborhoods, learning about the village. So I would say that's the biggest strength. It's very welcoming, very welcoming, especially to I would say the younger generation. Want to start a life here, want to start a family. I think it's a big strength of the village.
What is something that you feel needs improvement in the village? And if appointed as trustee, how would you work to improve it?
I would say this is just a general improvement for everyone nowadays, it's just cost reduction. People who are moving here especially the younger generation such as myself, looking for a safe, affordable place to live. So a big improvement is to look for different ways we can save money. And as a village, just in and of itself, I know we're a bit limited with resources and what we can do, but it's really important to focus on the resources that we have as a village and really find different ways we can reduce costs by using those resources that we have. I mean, we have a lot of businesses here. So that's a great resource we have. I work for GreenHack, a great company that loves doing stuff for their community, just utilizing the resources we have. That's a good improvement.
How would you handle a situation where a member of the community contacted you directly and was unhappy with a service that the board approved and the village provided?
Communication, definitely communicate back to them that they're heard, understand their position on why they're feeling that way. And ask them what you can do, help sort of mitigate that feeling or if possible to help resolve that. Communicating, I would say is one of my strengths only because that it was one of my weaknesses before. I've been burned a couple of times in my past at internships and previous professional stuff for not communicating well enough. And I think because of those situations, I've learned to be more on the side of over communicating. I think it's good to err on the side of excessively communicating than just communicating just enough to people that reach out to.
What skills are you excited to share with the board and the Village of Weston community?
I would say one of the unique traits that I bring to this board is my youthfulness. I most likely don't have the years of service as some other people pursuing this board position. I do provide sort of that energy, that excitement. I always love trying new things. Challenging myself, which is another reason or motivation for me pursuing this position. I'm excited to communicate, just network and meet new people and help the village and serve my community.
And why do you think this opportunity to serve is a good fit for you?
Because it's just my skills. I'm a communicator. I love talking. I'm not afraid to give my ideas. I'm very big into finding problems and solving them. I'm a problem solver. That's what I love doing about my job. I'm a materials coordinator, so every day I'm finding efficient ways to move material around the organization. Also finding logistical challenges is one of my strengths. Being able to utilize that.
Great, thank you. So Nate, we'll have Nate take you to the conference room and,
You're welcome to stay.
You can-
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You can stay, yep.
Thank you.
This is Brent, right?
Brent is 2.
So I'll just be asking the questions so the trustees can focus on the answers.
Okay.
So number one, what motivated you to submit an application for the trustee vacancy?
So a lot of different things. I currently serve on a couple of different committees, which has kind of gotten me involved in things in the Village of Weston that I've never really done before. I've always kind of thought about it and just haven't really put it into action. And I think with getting involved in the committees, it's kind of pushed me towards doing something that I've kind of always thought about doing. I raised my family in this community. I want to be part in how it is run and how it is overseen. And I think obviously this would be a great way to have that ability to do that, be part of the community that I live in, so.
What do you believe is the greatest strength of the village?
You know, I think, I mean, this is gonna sound kind of funny because I mean, the tax increase, but I think the financial position overall is pretty good. The previous meeting we had tonight where we have the funds to be able to do some roads that we don't have to borrow on. Certainly it could always be better, right? I mean, yes, but I think one of the strengths is just its solvency, has the ability to maintain things. Maybe not always as much or as quickly as we want, but it always has the ability to do it.
What is something that you feel needs improvement in the village, and if appointed as trustee, how would you work to improve it?
You know, a couple different things. I think there's some things that we could look at, but like things that I think we could really work on is, again, just continuing to, not that this is necessarily a problem, but continuing to attract businesses. I think if you look around Marathon County, there's really two municipalities, one of them being Weston, that are actually attracting all of the businesses that are coming into the county. Some other municipalities are not having that same one. So I think that's something we can continue to focus on. Again, not saying that it's, you know, in a bad spot now, but I think there's still just more opportunities out there to do that. I think, again, this is gonna be ironic coming from the 20-year cop, but I think there's, you know, sorry, chief, some traffic enforcement things that we could do better on. You know, on Sandy Lane, there's a guy who every night at 11 o'clock runs his loud truck down the road as loud as he possibly can, like clockwork. So just stuff like that, and no, I haven't called it in, so it's really on my own fault, probably hasn't been looked at, but I just think overall, I'm a driver's ed instructor as well, so I spend a lot of time driving around the village, and just like anywhere else, I think people get a little lax with some of the traffic stuff, and, you know, from a safety perspective, we could always, never ending problem, could always do better on that. Couple of good things.
How would you handle a situation where a member of the community contacted you directly and was unhappy with the service the board approved and the village provided?
So, holding the positions I've held in my life, getting yelled at is really nothing new. I've dealt with a lot of that being in leadership in police departments with people calling upset about something. So, something that I'm pretty accustomed to. But generally, a lot of times people just want to be heard, you know, let them vent to an extent, let them, you know, get off their chest what they want to say. And then ultimately, if there is some, you know, mistaken fact that they have that I can maybe correct, or if there's additional information that I can maybe give them that would at least provide them some perspective as to why the board did what they did. But I think a lot of times it's just people want to be heard, even if it's just to get it off their chest.
What skills are you excited to share with the board and the Village of Weston community?
I think I come with a lot of different skills. I have a background in leadership from different types of organizations, the education and law enforcement world. I have human resources certifications. I come with a background in that. 20 years into my professional career, still say I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, but someday I'll figure it out. But I just think I bring a wide variety of experiences. In previous roles, I've worked with village boards or municipal boards, so that I've, you know, got to get a really good understanding of what they do and how they do it. So I think I just bring a lot of background that'll be a benefit to the village.
Why do you think this opportunity to serve is a good fit for you?
I think just a lot of the skills that I just named, I think those are things that would mix well with the current board. I've gotten to know a lot of the board members pretty well through the committees that I serve on. So just kind of knowing a little bit about them and who they are, I think that I will be a good fit into the group that currently exists.
Thank you. So feel free to join us in the audience.
Yep, you can just stay here if you want. Yep. The next one is Mark Curtis.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm just going to ask the questions as the administrator, just so they can all focus on the responses.
Okay.
Mark,
Mark Curtis.
what motivated you to submit an application for the trustee vacancy?
I want to make a difference. I was walking, the person who sent the notice that you were looking for a trustee was my wife. And she said, why don't you quit bitching about this and try and do something about it? And I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I'm like, I've always been interested in serving. I've never really jumped in and did it. But I think it's a good point in my life and a good time in my life to try it. That's why I did it. My wife told me.
What do you believe is the greatest strength of the village?
Location. And the location, in my mind, the village, when I came here in 2019. We were looking at Rib Mountain. I'm from Mosany originally. We were looking at Rib Mountain and all the areas. And actually, I liked Weston the best. It was more of a, I felt it was more of a city country kind of a feel. And you can walk out your door and you can walk a mile and you'll be into the river trail or wherever. And it's almost like you're in the country. So I would say our location is perfect.
What is something that you feel needs improvement in the village? And if appointed as trustee, how would you work to improve it?
I think probably the main thing in the village that I would like to see improved is probably businesses. We do have a lot of smaller businesses, but I look at Rib Mountain and I'm like, why can't we draw some of this? So that's probably where I would like to look at what can we bring into Weston that would be a good fit. I know that when I think Coles was looking to move here years ago, several years ago that was. I thought that would have been great to have a Lowe's here. And I don't have to drive on the other side and go to Wausau or Menards and Home Depot. It's getting, and I don't even like to go into Rib Mountain anymore, so. But yeah, I think I would strive to work on drawing businesses.
How would you handle a situation where a member of the community contacted you directly and was unhappy with the service the board approved and the village provided?
If I would look at, I would be empathetic. But if the board votes and we provide, I mean, either there's some miscommunication or misunderstanding. Maybe they feel differently than what the board did, but the Board of Trustees, once it's voted on, it's not like we can change it. We have rules and regulations that we need to follow. I have a tendency to, I can talk to people pretty easily. And I try to make them understand my point of view. And regardless, maybe I voted against the resolution or, but I still have to support the Board of Trustees. Because we're all a family.
What skills are you excited to share with the board and the Village of Weston community?
My building skills. I don't know how I can use them, but I really enjoy building. I was a general contractor at one time, and I just love building, and I like to do things correctly. So I think I could bring a lot of my construction knowledge to the board and help make decisions on what we want to see as a group and the future of the Weston growth, where we want to go.
Why do you think this opportunity to serve is a good fit for you?
Because I feel that I want to make a difference. I guess as you get older, you kind of realize that. So I really do. I want to make a difference in my life, and I want to make a difference in the people that live around me. And the younger people. We really need to start bringing younger people into our community. We're losing a lot of younger people in Wisconsin. And I think we need to bring them in. And I think to do that, we need to bring in good businesses and good jobs.
Thank you. And feel free to join the audience. Hi, welcome. I'll just be asking the questions just so the trustees can focus. Only, we all know Luis, so. What motivated you to submit an application for the trustee vacancy?
Well, I've always been interested in getting involved with the village board and committees. Going back more than a decade, I had reached out to the village about becoming part of a committee a few times before 2021, where I got selected to be on the Public Works Committee. And I started to get more involved and then eventually got selected to be on the Community Life Public Safety Committee. And just the more that I've gotten involved and learned more about, I guess, the way that the board works and things happening in the village, I knew that it was something I wanted to get more involved with. I think my experience, both life experience and work experience, could help as a piece of the board. And that's the biggest thing. I just feel like I could be a help to make sure that things keep proceeding forward.
What do you believe is the greatest strength of the village?
I think just the people. I think this community as a whole has tremendous people in it, and everybody wants to see the community grow stronger, and us develop this community into some cool things. We've seen funding to help improve things like our parks and our public safety, and I think it's just cool to see how everybody comes together. And yes, we differ on various things, but in general, it's the people. We're in a very strategic spot in this state and in this county where we can set up our municipality for some great businesses and things for people to come visit us. And I hope to see that continue to develop.
What is something that you feel needs improvement in the village? And if appointed as trustee, how would you work to improve it?
So I think, probably something that I've communicated a few times to the board is I just would like to see continued transparency. I think that we've gotten better with that as a village through social media and helping to reach out to the citizens to make sure that they're aware of what's going on. I think the biggest frustrations and headaches that people have in this community is when they're not informed on what's happening. And that can create a lot of distrust. It can create misinformation. It can create misunderstanding. So the more that we can do as village staff to help educate our neighbors what's happening, and the more we can do as a village board to be transparent about what's happening, the better to help everybody.
How would you handle a situation where a member of the community contacted you directly and was unhappy with the service the board approved and the village provided?
Well, if it's something, the board approved specifically, I would take that feedback and use it in my decision-making and help influence the way I think about things. I may not agree with it, I may agree with it, but I have to use that information to know how people feel about things. When we were debating the Eau Claire River crossing for Public Works project, I walked through the Apache Lane neighborhood to talk to people because I haven't had to deal with getting rid of my well or my septic at my house because I have village water and sewer. And I knew those people were gonna be impacted by that. And I'm like, I wanna know how this is gonna impact people because I haven't experienced this myself. So I walked through door to door and talked to people to find out, how does this impact you? And I use that information to help me. If it's something specifically about where people have issues with staff or something happening at a staff level, I think the best thing is to reach out to you as the administrator and let you figure out things as the head of the staff. But otherwise, we just figure it out as a board.
What skills are you excited to share with the board and the Village of Weston community?
So I've been working in local government for 24 years. I've been a police officer and now a police lieutenant. That's exposed me to a lot of different types of committees, councils. Over those years, I've been involved with some grant writing and had to work with councils and boards to help advocate for things or educate them on things. So I bring that experience, work experience and life experience to the table. Last year I became a certified public manager through UW-Madison, which has allowed me to learn a lot more about everything happening at a government level. So I bring all that with me as well.
And why do you think this opportunity to serve is a good fit for you?
I just think I'm a pretty open and transparent and trusting person. I'm not somebody that's gonna tell somebody something that I don't believe in. So people can trust that if I'm on this board, that I'm gonna be honest with them about how I feel about something. I'm gonna be honest with them about some of the challenges that we might have as a community. As I said in my letter, this board is nothing more than a collection of our neighbors, and we're just the ones that are tasked with trying to help this community move forward. So, yeah.
Thank you. If you want to join the audience.
Yeah, anybody have any questions? So, being consistent with the last time we went through this process, you would, vote on one of these pieces of paper. And we need 4 to advance. And, if we don't get 4 the first time, we'll try again. I don't know how many times we'll try, but when we get it, we might need more paper, but we might not. So we'll see. So, in your thoughts here, what do you want to do? Do you want to collect them in here? Or you're just gonna come around and grab
I'll
them?
come around and grab them.
In the bowl or no?
No, not in the bowl.
Okay,
I'll just
all
grab
Hmm. As you. You want those scrunches up or just one fold?
You can just fold, one fold.
That's good. Mhm.
The clerk confirmed there are 4 votes for Luis and there are 2 votes for Brent.
Okay. I have them in front of me here if anybody wants to inspect them, but we have 4 votes for Luis and 2 votes for Brent. So Luis, you are, if you so decide, you are our next trustee. And if you want, we can swear you in here tonight, right?
Yep, we would still need a motion and a second.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. So we would need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to appoint Louis Lopez Sorreo to the Board of Trustees for the Village of Weston.
We have a motion by Cronin,
Second.
second by Ermeling. Any more on the discussion?
Just thank you to everyone that
Mhm.
came tonight.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you all, everybody. You're more than welcome to stay. And Louis, we'll swear you in here now, but for the others, well, I know Brent's on several committees already and our commission maybe, but the others, if please reach out, and we've got a couple vacancies right now. So if you want to serve in a different capacity, so most committees and commissions meet every once a month and you actually get paid for it. So, okay, thank you all very much. Want to proceed with Louis?
I was just gonna come over by his
Oh, okay.
vacant chair here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, swear him in over here. I just, I would
Would you
like
take
to
a
know.
picture? Cause I don't have your phone.
Louis just followed blue eye.
She's gonna swear. Yeah, she'll, yeah, I'm gonna tell him to face this way like she did with O'Shea and Joe. You're good. That should be good on you, Joe.
Is that okay?
Yeah, if you could kind of face a little bit this way, so for maybe a photo op,
Take that water bottle out.
what water bottle?
And raise your right hand,
What, you
please.
want the desk on too in the computer?
No, I
Okay.
just,
I, Louis Lopes Sorrell, who have been duly appointed to the position of trustee for the Village of Weston and have not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties to the best of my ability, so help me God. You can just sign right there, please. Okay, thank you. And this is your chair.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I guess we could scribble a nameplate quick. No, oh, we'll get you next time. All right, I'll send you those later. Okay.
oh, yeah.
Again, thank you, everybody. So it's a good group, that's for sure. Very good. Thank you.
And encourage those that wanted to come on,
Mhm.
if they're not already on a committee, to consider it. That's a good way to get it started.
Yeah, we have an opening on finance and HR. We have an opening on CDA, Community Development Authority. That committee doesn't meet often, but they'll have an important role in the next year. And potentially, I guess we'll have an opening on maybe Public Works.
Okay.
We should negotiate if we.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so we got through that process there. We did.
In the public work.
Yep, is that public works? So 4, 5, and 6 and clips. So now public comments. I have one submitted here by Jim Pincinel. Yep. Want to just state your name and address for the record, please?
You bet, Jim Pensinel, 5002 Arrow Street. Welcome, Louise. Good to see you here. Just so that everyone's aware, this 7-member board now has 43% of it appointed. So only 4 of you were actually elected for this position. So I'd like to ask the board several things. One, what's the status of the lawn outside and the landscaping? The grass still looks terrible. Every single bush in front of this window is dead. Or not the grass, whatever that is, it's growing, but there's a bunch of skeletons of bushes in front of that. Also, what does the board intend on doing to address the complete failure and breakdown by the planning department on failing to properly complete the state mandated affordable housing reports for 22, 23, 24, and 25? If you look at what's published on our website, the same exact incomplete report shows all 4. It shows for all 4 of those years, so it's the same file, just carbon copied 4 times. Furthermore, nowhere in the report does it actually do what the report is asking. I'll quote the state statute. The analysis shall identify ways in which the municipality can modify its construction and development regulations, lot sizes, approval processes, and related fees to do each of the following: meet existing and forecasted housing demand, reduce the time and cost necessary to approve and develop new residential subdivision in the municipality by 20%. The municipality shall post the report under sub 2 of the municipality's internet site on a web page dedicated solely to the report entitled Housing Affordability Analysis, end quote. The unsatisfactory report presented simply refers to other old reports done by other people and says, I quote, "This is difficult to calculate as inflation, supply chain, and workforce issues have occurred since this statute was enacted. And they're unrelated to the village's role in the development process," end quote. So basically, since it's hard, we don't think we should have to do it. Got it. This brings up another concern of the village not wanting to perform the duties as required by state statute. On April 24, I submitted a public records request. It's been nearly 2 months and I have yet to receive the requested records. The clerk claims she had them since May 14. She also demanded a $150 ransom payment to release the records, which I paid in cash weeks ago. I still do not have the records or refund or the requested itemized receipt for the actual time to retrieve the records, which I was unlawfully billed for. And how about those committee appointments today? It appears the good old boy's phones must have been ringing off the hook last month. You'll note there was another resignation by a committee member, and his seat was filled by a village employee. And the vacancy on tourism was also filled by a former village official. Approximately 16,000 residents live in the village. And on the president's appointment list, you'll find 13 people are appointed to more than one position. Ermeling is in 5 spots, Husheng is in 6, Cronin is in 8, and Maloney is, he's in at 9. Seems a bit unbalanced, but it does keep the power and control right in the hands of just a few good old boys and girls. It does not allow the rest of the 16,000 people an opportunity to participate or become active in their government. Once upon a time, government was supposed to be of the people and for the people. Instead of posting the vacancies and seeking interested citizens, you chose to just look in your Rolodex and phone a friend to fill the seat. Definitely not an action of and for the people. Speaking of phones, on page 330 of this packet tonight, your proposed policy for electronic devices in meetings. Could the administrator please explain to the rest of us how she expects to prevent any electronic messages from being received by an appointed official or elected official during the meeting? Will she be coordinating this with the phone carriers and email servers? Or is there a more robust method of prohibiting a message from populating in an inbox during the meeting? Will she also be working with staff to comply with these regulations? Or are we only selectively silencing certain people? The last thing I will discuss this evening is also in the interest of citizen involvement. You see, Mark and his appointed board do not want to hear me. They had to listen to me when I sat at the table up front, right where Louise is right now. Now that I'm in the audience, they'll be limiting the time for residents to address the board to just 3 minutes. Sure, WASA does it, but are we WASA? For 30 years in Weston, it hasn't been a problem for citizens to speak. But now that you have one citizen you don't like sitting here, speaking the truth every month, not only will you refuse to read my public comment into the record, you will refuse to reflect any of my comments in regard to the opposition to the current malfeasance happening in the meeting minutes. And also, let's just change the rules so Jim can't talk as long. That seems legit. I'm formally stating my opposition to silencing the public for no measurable gain. Thank you.
All right, public comments, any more public comments? Anybody online? No? Anybody else in the audience? Public comments number 2, public comments number 3. Minutes from previous meetings. 7, approval of May 19th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting. What's your pleasure?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Zagami,
Second.
second by Jordan. Any discussion? I think in the meeting, well, it's already passed, but it had July, I think, in there for what we just did when we elected Louis. So, no, you might want to just change it to June. Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Acknowledge reports, minutes from boards, committees, and commissions. What's your pleasure and how do you want to do it?
I'll make a motion to acknowledge B, item 10B, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, A and B, and 19.
Motion to acknowledge by Ermeling. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wyland. Any more on the discussion or any discussion, I should say? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Acknowledge reports from departments. Jamie, Administrator, any more you want to add? All these reports are in the packet. But any questions for our administrator or anything you want to add?
Just that now that we have our new member, you'll see a doodle poll come from me to get that retreat scheduled. So
Okay,
we'll be looking
excellent.
for some larger time blocks that maybe we can get something organized.
Excellent, okay. 21, anything for Pam? Pam, you have anything to add for a clerk?
No.
No. Okay. 22, finance?
Just
Jessica?
want to point out, I do have the Kennedy total expenses through the end of May in there. Those are the expenses we actually paid, so I have the check numbers by there. If there's any questions that, I also wanted to let you know if you have any recommendations for the 2026 budget to let us know. We are starting to work out the details of that.
Okay. Anybody else have anything else on that? No,
No,
go ahead.
other than, I guess, I don't know why, but there was some on Nextdoor, which I don't normally read, but I did catch this particular one where someone was questioning the park department and that we weren't going to use tax dollars, but it looked like we were, and it went on and on. And I guess, when you had the breakdown of, and I think it was ARPA funds that they were thinking was tax dollars, I'm not sure. But maybe for the park department, if, when you have that, if you can maybe break it down again. Or
Are you talking about what was broken down that the board
what we
approved?
had received, you know, and what was, and there was three, I can't remember, it was like 300 and some $1,000 that was
Budget surplus
or whatever, and I don't know if anybody else kind of caught it or not, but and I had the sheet, and I'm sorry I left it at home, otherwise I would know a little bit better what I'm talking about, but
I think that was referenced on the RFP that was presented when the approval of the project last meeting.
right,
So
and
I
like I said,
never.
I can remember the 300 some thousand, and I was thinking in my head, well, I couldn't remember the exact dollar figure that we had from ARPA that we.
So the amount that I have included on my page, it's 85. I have the amount of borrowed funds, which is roughly 185,000 we borrowed. And then I have the $800,000, 800 plus of ARPA funds. That's what's included in the.
Okay, that 300, I
1.2
think that was it. It was borrowed. It was considered. And why were we borrowing money for this project when it was not supposed to be tax dollar funded? And part of it, I think, Sean, I asked you, was you said some of that money had been projected to be borrowed for like the pool and other things, or that you were projected to borrow that for improvements anyway, or something of that nature.
So during the borrowing in the CIP plan, we had roughly $385,000 tagged as Kennedy Park improvements. And that was on the community infrastructure that we will be putting in the park and field. Michael, you want a certain field, right?
Well, I guess, and Michael will probably say the same thing. So, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, and we knew that there was gonna be village money involved in this project. It wasn't always just, we're gonna raise it all in that. We talked about doing infrastructure, talked about parking lots, restrooms, that the village would be funding some of this, that it wouldn't be, because it's hard to go raise money for a bathroom. It's different when you're raising money for a field or a playground or a skate park. So I know Michael's been one that brought it up, like pretty much every meeting we've ever had, was that there was gonna be village infrastructure as a storm sewers, you know, underground utilities, possibly just infrastructure to support the park. So we knew that. And we've talked about it a lot. It's just, for some reason, it got somehow misconstrued that there'd be no taxpayer dollars involved in this project, even though we talked about it a lot. So, we had like Jessica said, there was funds budgeted and borrowed for Kennedy Park. And that was what was proposed when the board approved the contract for the 2.2.
But they were, that was kind of up in the air type thing, and I didn't comment because I didn't know the exact figures or numbers or whatever.
I think it's
And I don't
always
comment on
appropriate
that anyway.
to comment that if someone has a concern, they can always contact the village.
So that's what always has been my thing. If you have questions, contact, the village.
And we could, I mean, Michael put together a nice RFC with all the dollar amounts in it for the meeting last month that had specifics, and Jessica's got one in front of you in her report too, so.
But just because we are borrowing money for the infrastructure, some of it, we still are gonna try fundraising for it too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we aren't just gonna
Like,
say.
we're not pretty much not doing anything else till we raise some additional funds,
Yeah.
so.
Well, like I said, or if you wanna, just I won't be at the next park meeting. I'm going this time. But I just wanted to make sure that there was some clarification. Again, if it's probably the umpteenth time you've done it, but maybe clarify again.
Okay. All right, thank you. 23, fire and EMS. Anything you want to add, chief?
No, just the only thing I would say is that myself and Eric are currently working on the Safer grant. I know that's confusing, but it's got nothing to do with our name. We'll be submitting that. It's due by July 3rd. We just sent it off for some proofreading. We got it back with just some minor changes they suggested, which I worked on today. And then we plan on submitting that next week. And then we should hear by September, it sounds like.
Any questions for the chief? All right, thank you. Park and Rec, Sean?
So I feel like I already reported.
Yeah, I kind of think so too.
So no, I have a report in the packet. There's also an item on the agenda tonight for the Yellow Banks canoe and kayak launch improvements, which we had the bid opening last Tuesday, correct, Michael? And Michael drafted RFC, putting together the results of the bid opening and discussing that.
Good.
And tomorrow you have to eat at Sam's Pizza.
Dine for cause.
In Weston. All right. Sounds
17th.
good. Good. All right.
It's mandatory now that you've joined the board, you have to.
There you go. 25, planning development. Anything more, Jen, that you want to add or anything of the board for Jen? No? Good stuff. I'll tell you, went through review here tonight, 2:30 to 4:30 and holy mackerel. A lot of new houses, a lot of stuff in the horizon, boy, I'll tell you. Big increase over the last year. 26, please, chief.
Just a couple comments. So in the last month here, we had number 38, and number 39 officers start for the department. One started today. So I'm happy about that. We had our vaccination clinic with the village, and that was for all municipalities. That was on Saturday. We had 28 people show up for that, or 28 animals. We had a fundraiser last Saturday for the canine program, and for the canine program, roughly in the last month here, we raised about $35,000.
Wow, that's
So
awesome.
that stays in a fund and is specifically for the dogs. And in addition to that, the officers are back from school for the summer, so we have more patrol on the road and they're helping out the village with zoning violation stuff, so. A couple of additions to the report, so thank you.
Any more questions for the chief? No? Thank you all. Public Works, Michael. Anything more for Michael or anything you want to add, Michael?
Hopefully the rain holds off, and if it does, Schofield Ave should start getting paved Wednesday, so.
Oh, good. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. I have to get my skateboard out. Cruise down there until it opens, right? Or on some cones. Wouldn't that be funny? Hit about 3 feet before I break my leg. Anything more for Public Works, anyone? And last, technology. Well, we should put technology up on, is that, oh, it is alphabetical. So, sorry. Anything for Nate or anything you want to add, Nate?
Yeah.
Nothing? Just something? Anything, a tidbit? No, we're good? All right, sounds good. So, did we acknowledge? I don't think we did.
We have not.
We did? No, so we need a motion to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge items 20 through 28.
Motion to acknowledge by Cronin, second by Ermeling. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Work product transmittals. 29, acknowledge May building permits. So moved by Ermeling,
Second.
second by Zagami. Other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 30, acknowledge May budget status.
Motion to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge by Cronin,
Second.
second by Ermeling. Any more on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 31, acknowledge code enforcement report. What's your pleasure? Motion to approve by Ermeling, or acknowledge by Ermeling,
Second.
second by Zagami. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 32, acknowledge 2019 to 2025 Village of Weston Housing Affordability Report. What's your pleasure?
Motion to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge by Cronin,
I'll second.
second by Jordan. On the discussion. Any discussion? None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 33, acknowledge 2025 new housing fee report as required by Wisconsin Act 243.
Motion to acknowledge.
Motion to acknowledge by Ermeling, second by Zagami. On the question. Any question, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Consent agenda 34, request to be, anything to be pulled, items out of consent consideration. Those we have vouchers, Playful Paul's kennel license, malt beverage and intoxicating liquor. Wine renewal of salvage license, renewal of weight measures, acknowledge spring surplus auction results, acknowledge renewal of lodging licenses, acknowledge renewal of mobile home park licenses. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve consent agenda 35 through 42.
Motion to approve items 35 through 42 by Ermeling. Looking for a second? Second by Wyland. Anything on the discussion?
I've got a question.
Go ahead.
What's the status of Stillwater? Are we still moving forward over there or are things kind of stalled out?
No, they're moving forward. Travis wrapped up inspections in there a week and a half ago. So making a lot of
Violations
progress.
Significantly down.
What's that?
Are violations significantly down?
Have you been able to run numbers yet?
I don't think significantly yet. They just hired some new management there, pulling from another park, where he did a very good job there. While we were in there doing our inspections, there were handing out violation letters and trying to move in the right direction, so I would hope to kind of start going down by a lot.
Okay.
I think it's less from the previous year. It's still not what we wanted.
I just want to make sure we're still moving in the right direction.
Yeah, no, they're moving in the right direction. I mean, the pavement looks fantastic that they did in there. The new houses, they've got 12 permitted this year, I believe.
But how many are in there? There's more than 12.
Yes, yes,
I mean,
but
there's some that aren't even put in place yet.
brand new houses are coming in
Yeah.
this year that have 12 have been permitted this year.
Okay.
Okay, so they're starting to infill all of the vacant lots that are in there.
I mean, not even where the pavement is. I mean, they're putting them in other spots too, right? Or
Um,
are they just holding them there?
They're just holding.
Holding them.
Okay. Oh, so they are gonna all the newer ones are all gonna come on the paved, right? Okay. So is there two more sections, your next, two more sections or one finish?
For the paving intent?
Yeah. Is
I
it,
believe it's one more section, but
One more?
One, yes.
I don't think we have a timeline on that yet.
will it be this year?
I was told it was supposed to be this year, whether or not that's true. or
I think-
not,
I think we spent a lot of time with this, so I think we need to put this on the next agenda. Just to get it start if you need some help with it. Just to get a discussion going with management or the owner. Okay, would you feel the same?
Yeah, Keaton reached out to me on
Okay.
Thursday or Friday last week via email.
Yeah.
Asking for the full report as soon as we have that ready. So.
I think if we put a date in there, just to help it a little bit with some teeth, that'd be nice.
Would we have a full report by next month? That would be my. So we could just discuss whether or not we have seen improvements year over year?
I would think so. We're working. They created a new inspection software that we've been using, so, as soon as we can get them reports, but the numbers wise are, we have those, so. I would think so.
Can you share that we talked about the second phase of paving? So that if he's got to get it on for this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Installing forever.
What? Yeah, I'm sorry, Hushain?
I think you should get the schedule together for him. Or update the schedule previously we had. And show the item is completed already and what is remaining. And how long it's gonna take or when it's gonna take to complete it.
I don't know that we had a timeline on the second piece of paving.
We did, I went back looking for that, I didn't see that.
We had an awful lot of discussion on that.
We did,
I don't
but
think, not the second half
not
though.
the second half.
Well, it's time to bring it up and put the date on it and see when he's gonna finish it.
And then with Jelnik, being repaved, right? Jelnik, right? Yeah, and the curb and all that grass in there is an open, probably 24 feet by the power lines that used to be fenced. And it's not fenced. I know you can't get a vehicle through there, but there's always been past, not yet, but I think we ought to take a look at that. Maybe they got to do something there. So that access or exiting doesn't start there and then wreck that new grass and that new landscaping and I know this isn't on here, but should we ask WPS to pave that dirt? I mean, my gosh, the dirt they're pulling out of there all the time when you're in their
At the substation?
substation, yeah. There's just dirt 70 to 80 feet each direction and it's all coming out of there. So we would require that for anybody else. If a homeowner was there, we'd require pavement so that it keeps the gravel on their side. It's just so apparent now with the brand new road. All right. We're done with consent, right?
Did we take
Yeah,
a?
I think so.
We did.
We had the first and second.
Oh, okay, so now, well, we have a motion and a second, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried, thank you. Ordinances, resolutions, 44, resolution 2025-011. A resolution to approve the compliance maintenance annual report, CMAR, for Weston Sewer Utility. Pleasure?
Vote to adopt resolution 2025-011 to approve the compliance maintenance annual report CMAR for Weston Sewer Utility and submitted to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
Motion by Zagami,
I'll second.
second by Jordan. Anything on the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Resolution 2025-012, authorizing resolution for Fuller Street reconstruction. What's your pleasure?
I move to approve the authorizing resolution 2025-012 for special assessments for drive approach construction for the Fuller Street, Schofield Ave to Ross Ave reconstruction project as presented in the engineer's report.
Motion by Cronin,
I'll second.
second by Jordan. Any more in the discussion? So on the discussion, we did have a meeting with some of the residents and it was probably one of the best one I've ever had. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I thought people were gonna pop open champagne. So, yeah, it went, I thought extremely well. A lot of questions, a lot of answers, a lot of back and forth. So anyway, and I'm driving by it all the time and it seemed to be pushing pretty hard on some of the stuff already. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 46, unfinished business. Discussion and or action on addition to the elected and appointed village officials handbook, section 1.10, use of electronic devices during village meetings. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to dismiss this agenda item indefinitely and take no further action unless a documented issue arises that merits legitimate concern.
So we have a motion to deny indefinitely by Wyland. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion fails with lack of a second. I'll entertain another motion.
Make a motion to approve the addition of section 1.10, use of electronic devices during village meetings to the elected and appointed village officials handbook.
Motion by Cronin. Second by Ermeling. On the discussion.
So I'm also unclear on how this is all going to take place, in the handbook and what the wording will be. Again, are you taking our phones at the end of the meeting and redacting information? I mean,
No.
what is the purpose of
Mhm.
this? I understand that you don't want phones being used in closed session, but other than that, it's a tool. We use it to review agenda items, take notes. You know, it's a tool. So I guess I don't understand why this is such an issue, why this is being brought up.
I think the spirit is to stay engaged while you're in the meeting. Certainly closed session, there's no use at all. But I think the spirit was to stay engaged in the meeting and not to be on your phone. If, you could take notes on the computer here. I mean, we're all engaged in communication. And if a member, a trustee is on their phone excessively, I think it's gotta get pointed out. And I think that's the thought, or that's the spirit of what we're doing here. We're not trying to, as you said, redact or take the phones or turn them in. I mean, I'm checking time on here. I am checking a few messages on here. In closed session. I think it'd be respectful if we're on our phones, if we tell the rest of us what we're doing on our phones. I just think it would be. But that's the spirit that I would vote yes for this. And I would enjoy hearing others. I'm sorry. Yeah, Lee?
So as I was reading this, I had a similar concern to what we had during public comment, which is the use of the word receiving. Because it does seem to say like we can't have our phones receiving messages, which obviously if they're gonna receive unless we shut them off. I would have concerns with having our devices off because we do have family members that are sometimes trying to reach out to us. I've had meetings that have gone long where I've had to reach out to my family and say, hey, just, I'm gonna be half hour late. Don't hold dinner for me, things like that. And I understand like for 99% of the meeting, like our phone should sit here on silent and not be looked at. But I don't know if it needs to be a thing where we say, could I step out for a minute so I can send a message, something like that. I don't know, but I think I could just as easily receive a message on my watch and see it without anybody noticing I'm ever looking at my phone. People put comments on our Zoom that pop up on occasion as well. So I understand the principle of what we're trying to do here to prevent people from not paying attention. And I think there's merit to that, but I'm concerned with, preventing us from doing any communication.
I don't believe it's prevention at all. I don't believe it's, you can have your phone on, you can receive what I do, and I'm going to continue. But for me to be on this to a point that I'm not engaged in this meeting, that's excessive. Barb?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we're stopping somebody from getting a message that, hey, there's an emergency or we need to, whatever. I don't think that is not the intent to me, nor is it that, for example, the meeting's running late. Maybe just make a comment. It's running late. I'm going to do this. I don't think we're doing that, but I think it's very disrespectful of the residents of the board for someone to be on their phone rather than paying attention to the meeting. If you're texting someone on the phone or on your whatever. I have my phone and it's in my purse and I don't mess with it unless it's something that rings, I'll check it. But I mean, it buzzes and if it's something important, but otherwise I don't even acknowledge it.
Mine will stay here. Mine will stay right next to me here. I need to see it. Got a lot of family. And I want to stay engaged. Cronin?
I think it depends on what your interpretation of the word receive is. Obviously, you can't stop a phone from, or a watch for that matter, from receiving a message. But to me, when I hear that word receive, it's essentially like a message comes through and then I'm taking time to sit and read that message while I'm sitting in the meeting. That's how I would interpret that. So to the comment that was made earlier about, oh, are we going to coordinate with the phone companies? No, I don't think that's necessary, but maybe this could be reworded a little bit to change that terminology.
It
and
could
make
be
it clear.
respond.
Yeah.
Officials
Respond.
shall not send or respond to electronic communications.
Unless emergency.
Well, it does say concerning a matter pending before the body during the meeting. So it would, I mean, that piece is written as to say you shouldn't be communicating with citizens without the benefit of the entire trustees hearing what that citizen is expressing.
And this does give an exception for family emergencies.
Who's to say it's a citizen though?
But
I mean,
it-
you're making that assumption and you're, you know, you're making an assumption.
But if it's a family member, that's a different portion, right? If it
So
would,
you're gonna check my phone later and
Nope,
make sure.
you're making that assumption.
Make-
We're
I-
certainly not
no,
gonna
I'm
do
just
that.
questioning.
Yeah, we're certainly not gonna do that. I won't be part of it.
I'm
I won't be
questioning
part
what
of
the
the questioning,
handbook is
yeah.
going to say. I also
Yeah.
have a 24/7 business where if the app goes off and I'm being called to get a job, I have to either accept or reject the job. And that's just the way it is. And if I don't respond, then that reflects on my ratings. So I need to go ahead and do that. You'll hear my phone vibrate. I'll turn it off. I'll reject or accept, and I'm not going to also stop doing that.
Okay. I think that's all within what we're talking about. I think the word excessive is the spirit of what we're talking about. So if we gotta change a few words, you wanna just bring it back to the next meeting? Or do you wanna change it right now? Change it now? I'm good with that change.
so I would change receive to reply or to respond.
I think, you know, a little bit of use of it, I think, I mean, I don't know what a little bit is. I don't know if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes over the course of 3 hours. I'm touching mine constantly to see what time it is. I know there's a clock right there, but I touch mine all the time just to see the time. That's just how I do time. I do it in meetings all the time. And I will I'll browse or, you know, somebody sending me something, whether it be a customer or a family member. I very rarely respond unless it's meatloaf, but that's about it. So.
And also, if I don't print my notes out, which I have been, because I know I'm being pinpointed right now that I can't use my phone like a computer. So I've been printing all of them out, Steve, so just want to let you know that if I don't have a chance to print them out, because I do work on the road, I will be looking at my phone to get those notes.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Yep, welcome. Any more? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No,
Let it be noted that 5 yeses, if I'm getting this correct, and 2 nos.
And it
Okay,
was
Louis and Jamie. Okay, Joe, did you go yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Am I correct on the 5-2? Okay. So passed. 47, we handled right up front in the meeting. 48, discussion and or action on 2025 hospital area repaving bid results. That was approved at finance tonight, unanimously by the finance HR committee, just so if you weren't here, just so you know, it was done.
48 was not approved by finance, 49 is.
Correctamundo. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
You take action on 49 first. and
48 is,
Probably
yeah.
makes 48.
Let's move to 49. So let's just switch those two. 49, discussion and or action on Fund 40, TIF 1 capital projects, and Fund 21, TIF 1 special revenue.
If I can find it here.
Mhm.
So, make a motion. I recommend the village approve the proposed TIF amendment as presented.
Motion by Ermeling to approve,
Second.
second by Zagami. On any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. So now 48 is null and void.
Now you need to take action on 48 because 48 is the actual bid result contract. Then,
Okay, yep.
so 49 was the funding.
Yep, okay, so 48, discussion and or action on 2025 hospital area repaving bid results. What's your pleasure?
Move to support the 2025 hospital area paving project with RC paver based on their alternative bid 1 and bid 2 for a total of $1,602,064.80.
Second.
Motion by Zagami, second by Jordan. Any more on the discussion? This is 48. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. New business, number 50, discussion and or action on president's appointments to committees and or commissions. I would like to appoint tonight Scott Tatro to the Parks Committee of vacating Dino Corvino. And Dino Corvino also vacated Tourism. And I'd like to nominate Fred Schuster to the Tourism Commission, to be on that commission. So those are my two, we're gonna hold off on clips until we get a little bit more structured here with what the rest of the board wants to do on some of these. And then we do have HR and finance an opening there yet too. So right now I'm asking for the approval of Scott Tatro for the Parks Committee and Fred Schuster for the Tourism Commission.
Are you gonna
Hmm?
add? Are you gonna add for the new appointment or trustee?
That's done. I don't have to.
Oh, did
I-
you
we-
already appoint him?
I don't have to
those
appoint.
committees?
We did that, we did as a board. We appointed Louis.
Right,
But
if you
no,
wanted to
no,
put him
no.
on any committees.
Oh, right now, I did not. I didn't know who was gonna be on here, so
Okay.
if we can, I gotta give that some thought. And actually, I think that's gonna involve more discussion with the rest of you too. So, okay.
Oh, okay, because I was just wondering if you were gonna appoint him to the vacancies
Yeah.
or something.
Okay. I think there's gonna be some shuffling around a little bit. A lot of us have a lot and some have none, so we'll take a look at that.
That'd be me. I have one.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually two. E&PD joint finance.
That'll be gone.
Mhm. So, let's see, so what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Ermeling? Second by Zagami. Any more in the discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Yes.
Can we go back to 48? I just have a question for Michael.
Back to 40, sure, go ahead.
Is RC paver gonna replace also the curb?
They have a,
Different contract.
they have Patrica's concrete as their concrete sub on that
So it
project.
is part of this
It's
contract.
part of that, yeah. So they're the general, but yeah, they have Haas doing utility adjustments and inlet repairs. Patricas is their concrete sub and they're doing the paving.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Just, Scott and Fred, you'll just grab those for swearing in and stuff? Committee
Yeah.
commissions? Yep.
We'll either have them come in or
Yep.
wait for their next
Okay.
meeting.
Let's see, 51, discussion and or action on revenues received from pet licensing. You wanna get it on the floor and discuss, or how do you wanna do this?
This is for review, no action needed, so I don't think we have to get it on the floor.
Discussion and or action on revenues received from pet licensing.
The recommended language says for review, no action needed.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well,
Mhm.
currently, the rabies licensing funds are not being reinvested into related animal welfare or public safety services such as the Humane Society. So that's why I'm asking this to be put back on, or why I had it put on the agenda, for discussion. So we specifically, collect these monies to promote public safety and animal welfare, so I'm just curious why we're not redirecting those revenues accordingly for fiscal transparency.
What kind of dollars are we looking at there?
I think both years reflect the loss.
Well,
What kind of loss?
Did you want to take that?
I mean, the first year, 2024, it shows that the total revenue that was brought in was 7,096. And then we funded the non-dog stray contract with the Humane Society for 18,500. We did get a refund on that. So the net was a negative 13,875. 13,875 that we paid for the non-dog stray contract, which is more than the revenue that was brought in for the pet licensing, which did provide a benefit with the Humane Society because we took in, it provided a benefit to our community by taking in those non-dog strays. Then we also did disperse $6,267.74 in TVNR reimbursement last year. So, and then we have the pet tags as well. So all three of those are probably roughly around 20,000.
And how many people utilize the TNVR?
How
many?
Last year we had 2 or 3 people that came in, 2 for sure.
So how does you reimburse $100?
It was up to $100.
Okay.
So it was whatever the cost was. So if the cost was $81.25, that's what was reimbursed.
Sure. So
We didn't give them $100 for only $81 that they paid out.
I guess I'm not understanding your figures. I don't have them in front of me. I don't see how they're. So.
Well, they're on the board, they're on the packet. So you see where do you want me to come point it out? Okay. So right here is the total amount of revenues that were retained by the village last year, 7,096. So we paid for the non-dog stray contract of 18,500. We did not use it all. There weren't 100 pets taken in by the Humane Society. So we got a reimbursement. So our total payout for the non-dog stray contract was 13,875. Then for the TVNR reimbursement, that's how much we reimbursed to citizens who brought in the request for reimbursement. And then we bought the pet tags, of course, for the licensing. So that was for 2024. So the 13 plus the 6 plus the 600 is roughly, $19,000 to $20,000. That's what we brought in. That's what we paid out. So that's where the 7,000 went. And then for 2025 so far, we've brought in 72,3550 so far up to, I believe this is to the end of May 31st. And then the disbursements that we've done so far was with Mountain Bay Metro. We had a part of the non-dog stray contract with them because we had our percentage that we paid towards that. And then we had just cat tags because we don't have to pay for dog tags through Marathon County. They take care of that for us. So we haven't had any reimbursements yet for the TVNR program, but we've put a message out there for people that it's available.
Okay, so where does the number, the 6,267, so that hasn't been used or?
No, that was what was paid out. I think the board approved like around, I think it was like.
I think it was $10,000 out of salt savings last year.
Right.
that
Yeah,
took
but
it
I
as.
think it was,
Right.
wasn't
Now
it
I
a total
remember.
of like 15,000?
I think it was 15.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
15.
Okay.
5 from
total.
tourism.
Yep. So there was a total, I think the total amount for the non-dog stray contract plus the TVNR reimbursement came to $32,000 if I remember correctly.
And now the trap, vaccinate, neuter and release we did set aside some funds in general
Yeah,
for
it
that.
was-
It's not as much as it
It's not
was
as much.
last year.
Yeah.
But I know Pam reminded me, we did have, I think, maybe 3 people that submitted, but 90% of those funds were one individual.
Yes, we're one.
Who trapped many animals.
Yeah. Yep. And she was very easy to work with, so, but yes, so that's the total amount that was paid out to the individuals that came in for that reimbursement. And like I said, it was up to $100. So if they only spent, $65 for the the vaccination and the spaying or neutering, then that is what they were reimbursed. They had to bring in their paid invoices.
So the money that we're collecting is being paid, back into the grant money that we're giving or whatever you wanna call it. Are we doing 18,000 every year or just once?
18,
That's the contract.
Yeah, the contract.
but the contract is now with Mountain Bay.
Yeah, paid for by the
We-
police department.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm questioning because.
We journal entry that back for what our cost of that percentage of the contract is.
Yeah.
Is what? 13,000?
No,
Oh,
yes, 13,000 for this year. The contract I think was 19.5 or something, and we're 65% of that.
65%
We're taking that as part of our overall payment that we're providing to Mountain Bay.
So it's definitely a wash, and then if we gave up the revenue that we're bringing in, we would be actually more than it.
Right.
Correct.
It's all for the same cause.
It's all
And
for
the other
same
thing,
cause.
understanding that they would still be here, we didn't put any staff costs into this of issuing the license.
Yeah, that is something else too, because when we used pet data, we paid, I think it was around 5,000 or 6,000 a year to use their services. That was what we paid them for those services. So yes, we're doing them in-house, which is great. We're happy to have it back. But it's also the staff time that's involved too. We can't take that out of the picture, that's also part of the cost, but it's part of the job too.
Well, and also it'd be, if you don't mind, it would be any revenue that we're bringing in anywhere. Is there another, would we turn around and, so for the bartending licenses, would we donate that license money back to the Tavern League for education? I mean, and I know dogs and cats are animals and are a living thing, but where else would we take something that we would put back in? That we would take revenue and then give it back to a housing permit, give it back to the building,
I guess how I was looking
yeah.
at it is I want to fund the police. I don't wanna,
Mhm.
and put those monies, back where you're into the same cause. So,
Right now, we're not making more revenue than what it's costing, correct?
Well,
Yeah,
If you take those.
we're putting it back in.
yeah, we're
plus
putting it
more.
back in plus more,
We're
right?
still servicing,
Right.
I mean, we're still taking care of animals.
Yep. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I guess, as I look at it, we're spending, say, $18,000 currently in 2025 for pet costs. And our revenue is 11,000, so the village general tax fund is actually spending that difference, so. The village itself is paying an additional $6,000 for pets versus the revenue, so it's a
Right.
6,000 from the village plus the 11,000 in pet fees. That's offsetting then all the costs the village has for pets.
And I think we have to remember too, that we're going in a good direction. We have that non-dog stray contract. We hadn't had that for years.
Yeah.
We're going in a good direction.
We got good relationships everywhere, Steve.
I have a question. So when the money, it looks like a good portion of the licenses that we receive go to the county. Where does that money go once it goes to the county? Do we know?
Part of it goes to the Humane Society.
Is that where it goes or does it?
The county, the Humane Society is not owned by the county. They contract with the county.
I know, but I said they make a payment to the Humane Society.
They probably do.
The other piece would be an understanding, some of this I think is part of statute, but they do provide the program. We chose not to use the program. We didn't have to pay extra for utilizing the program this year. So they do keep up to date the Ascent program. They provide us the updates, the dog tags. So in the past, we chose not to use that program and paid for the pet data, but they do maintain that program.
Okay. Did we have a motion on the floor?
There's no action needed.
Okay. All right, moving on, 52, discussion and or action on providing up to 3 minutes in public comment regarding a non-agenda item. If you look at the packet, I think we did a pretty good survey of the area. It's not just Wausau, it's Cronewetter, it's Rothschild. Rothschild is the one that I was told is on a 3-minute deal. We kind of don't have one now, correct?
There is.
I thought it was always 5. I've always heard it's 5, but yet when we researched it, it's not 5.
And it's possible at some point a motion was made in the far past, I did not search all agendas to look for that, but there isn't anything in the municipal code or handbook that states 5.
Okay. And with the other ones, and some of the agreements that I saw or some of the verbiage I saw in there, it's a 3 is the minute for public comment, but with the discretion of the board or president to elongate, correct? Did I not see that in several?
Some of them have that, yes, with the
Okay.
discretion.
I think if we had the same thing in ours and if we got into some discussion, I mean, there's no discussion, it's public comment. We can't go back and forth on. So, yeah.
I guess we just,
Mhm.
I guess it just feels more like a planned reduction. We don't have an abundance of people out here making public comment. So I just feel like this is more of a planned reduction. So I don't really feel a need for it. We have more, I don't know, chatter between us and wasted time that way than we would listening to somebody in the audience.
Well, I think 3 minutes is plenty of time. So go ahead, Barb.
Well, there's been times, and that was where we had issues that the public came, and there was quite a few of them. Yeah, that they would go on, and I mean, it's good that the public is talking, but there is a limit to how long you can sit, and sometimes it was repeated, I mean, you got several people up, although you would say, don't repeat it. Part of it did. So I think, I mean, if it's something that is extremely, that they're trying to get facts across, if we can say, well, we can give you another 2 minutes or whatever, or another minute to finish your presentation, I think that would give it, but to not have any restrictions, I think we're looking for issues.
I'm certainly not trying to control public speak or free speech of any sort. I think I'm just trying to ask, should we be consistent with other communities? And, yep, I'm sorry. Julie, go ahead.
Fine. I was just gonna say, I agree. I think we should be consistent, and while we may not have an issue now, there always could be an issue, and my biggest fear is that when that issue arises and somebody goes on talking for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and we don't have anything in language saying a time limit, and the chair decides to shut it down, does it then look bad that the chair is using that discretion against somebody and somebody saying, well, that's just because he doesn't like me? I think it creates the potential for conflict by not having that language. So by having the language, everybody gets the same amount of time. The chair can exercise discretion. At least that's what my ask would be, is that there's the 3 minutes and less discretion by the chair to allow an extension because somebody's in the middle of something that is pertinent. I think that would be.
I would go as far as the chair and the majority of the board.
Yeah.
Steve?
I'll make a motion to provide up to 3 minutes per speaker public comment time limit on a non-agenda item with a time extension per the chief presiding officer's discretion.
We have a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
Second by Jordan. Any more on the discussion?
It's currently 5 minutes, correct?
We can't find that.
Oh,
We can't, we thought it was 5, but we can't find 5 minutes. I was always told, I always believed it was 5 minutes. I actually have told people you have 1 minute left when it's 4 minutes. And I thought it was 5. And then we looked at it. I actually had a conversation with Rothschild and some other ones. And then we did the little history digging into some other communities and we came back with 3. It's not just Wausau. It's almost this entire area here. I don't think we found any that are different than 3. And then with the discretion of the chair or the majority of the board to extend, I think that's fine. The big stinker of public comment is that there's no discussion. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We used 5 minutes at the plan commission, so that's where.
Oh, that may be it? Okay, okay. So.
On that point, because plan commission is kind of its own entity, do we need to look at updating that if we're gonna be consistent?
Right now, I don't have it on there at all. It might be in like the little public comment form that we have kind of attached to it that people can fill out. I was just looking at an agenda from 22 where we had it on there listed.
Might be where, I think it's earlier. I thought it was in the teens for sure, but.
Yeah, we've always kind of done 5 minutes, especially at the plan
Yeah.
commission, because like Barb said, there tends to be a lot of repeating. So
Right.
usually the chair, like
Yeah.
Steve does a good job of taking
Mhm.
care of that, making sure that people aren't redoing it.
So that's a commission being, and then maybe if we do the same thing there in tourism, would be the other one. Because commissions have its own entity and under its own rules. Okay, so we're still in discussion? Did you have more? Okay. Okay, then it went
I had
to
the
Louis,
motion.
and then it went to Jen, okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I believe it's a 6-1, if I am correct. So 6-1 approval. 53, discussion and or action on coordinating with the American Legion on 2026 Veterans Avenue of Honor banners along Schofield Avenue. Did I read a little bit in there that we actually have them?
No.
Oh, we don't. Well, we have 3. We have Weston, we have. What?
We have patriotic banners.
Oh, patriotic,
We have
okay,
88
okay.
American flag banners, is that
Yep.
right, Sean?
Is that what it is?
There's a soldier with the American flag.
Okay. And what's the one during the winter? Is
Winter, we have,
it a cherry? Cause I looked at, I actually stopped the car to look at them.
It's mistletoe, but yeah,
Oh, mistletoe.
people say it looks like beets.
So I thought it was either beets or cherries. And I thought cherries in the wintertime, I don't understand. So yeah, that we might, yeah, okay.
So the veteran banners that are referenced are the ones like along Grand Avenue.
I think they're absolutely outstanding.
Were they literally, the families typically pay the American Legion. They have the banners made up and then the municipality like Wassa installs and takes them down.
Okay, that's our only expense?
That would be our expense, would be village staff, obviously changing them out.
Okay.
Change them out. I've been on Grand Avenue and by the police and fire department there, you know, where I was at Thomas, I think. And I know the names. I know Dudley. I know a lot of those names. And I was very impressed to the point that I got beeped at to get moving. So I didn't go. All right, so let's see, I don't think we have a motion to put it on the floor.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Wyland, second by Ermeling. Any more in the discussion?
We're just motioning to, it's an approval?
Yep.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I guess I had more of a detailed,
Yeah.
motion, if that's okay.
Okay.
Well, I think you're gonna have to work, aren't you gonna have to work in the Parks Department with Sean? Or is that, where does this go from here?
I will work with the American Legion to,
Okay.
to coordinate for 2026.
Okay, but, in addition to that, in addition to the veteran flags, can we also make sure that, the 88 flags that we have are up for Memorial Day, and Flag Day and through July 4th?
What we likely would do, because our banner poles are two-sided, is we would do our banner on one side and we would do the veterans banner on the other. So there's 24 poles, we would have 12 additional, we would be available for 12 veterans banners to go down Schofield Avenue
But this year.
next year.
Yeah, this year they're taking down right now.
Yeah, and we wouldn't, because of the construction, we wouldn't do banners this year. It's not safe for them to be out there until construction's completed.
How many times would we be changing the flags? Because that was the issue.
And that was, she just made a motion that they would be up for Memorial Day through the 4th of July.
Right, but then what flag do you put up?
So we've been running just standard village ones.
And our commitment, if we do this, is Memorial Day through Veterans Day. The banners would have to, the
Right.
veterans banners would have to stay up.
Right, well, that's good, but
Yeah, we
I
could
just
change the
didn't-
other side, but the veterans banners would have to
I
stay.
didn't want it.
So wouldn't it make more sense to have the veteran banners up for Memorial Day and Veteran Day? And then on the other side, instead of Weston, have the patriotic flag up through Flag Day and July 4th? That'd probably no.
They sure could, but you could keep up the patriotic flag all the way through Veterans Day. And change it out at Veterans Day for Christmas. Because Veterans Day would be in November.
What kind of time are we talking? Switching in and out? If it
Yeah.
goes somewhat smooth.
Well, so previously we had 44 banner poles on Schofield Avenue. Now with the current construction, we're reducing it down to 24, correct, you said?
Yep.
24?
That's the end result's gonna be 24.
24, so that would be a total of 48 banners, because it's two-sided.
What about by the hospital?
Hospital is a completely different area. We never had
No.
flags for that area. And then when we were approached by American Legion previously, they were just gonna Schofield Avenue because of the visibility.
Right.
Okay.
Because you don't get the traffic around the hospital, et cetera.
Well, I just.
So no, just, can you just get to the point where, how long it takes?
How long it takes? So currently, just Schofield Avenue takes about a day and a half just for Schofield Avenue, which we'd be down to less than a day if we're doing. half-
4
half
versus.
that, Yeah.
half of them.
For how many?
Obviously, it's a little more challenging just because there's more traffic.
Right. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
A day and a half for how many staff?
2. We always have a follow truck with the arrow board and then, 1 person on the bucket truck.
So with the lack of green to mow on those islands now, because we're cutting that back, are we saving how much, a half a day, maybe a full day of mowing? You know, I mean, I'm just trying to, put it back forth. I mean,
So the amount of grass that we're actually reducing
Yeah.
is just in the medians.
right, but it's
And-
also very dangerous cutting too.
Yes, but currently it takes us 2 hours to push mow the medians. So we'd be literally
How many
reducing
people?
2.
Okay.
Do 1 on each section, so Normandy to Alderson and 1 from Alderson to Birch. So it's 2 hours of mowing for push mowing for those areas, and we should be reducing it down to probably half that. With the, the colored concrete areas and.
I think the flags are nice. I like them. I like them as locators. I like them switched around and you're next. And I would go a week without mowing certain areas just to get those back up if we have to change the labor out. That's just my opinion. I like seeing the banners up there.
And the-
I
and
like
the-
seeing
and the
Weston. I
reason
like
that's-
seeing the flags.
The reason that changing out the banners went away was due to the amount of labor.
Right.
Literally, it was 3.5 days for 2 staff members to change out all the
Do that
banners.
many, yep.
And we were doing it before Memorial Day, and then we'd leave them up through Labor Day. That would be the patriotic ones. Then we'd switch back to the regular ones. Then Thanksgiving, we switch them out to the winter banners. And then in January, go back to the regular village ones again. And then back in May, then we'd go back to the patriotic ones. So we were changing banners. That's 5 times a year. At 3.5 days per time, and just the labor.
Do patriotic through the whole summer
Yeah.
and then do that.
Literally Memorial Day
2
through
times.
Labor
That's
Day.
it. That's it.
We would do them.
Barb, no more?
Well, that was my concern is I didn't want us to get back to what we had before where we had your crew out there, every time you turned around, you were up there changing banners and not only was it time consuming for staff, it was also inconvenient for the people driving on Grand Avenue to have those trucks sitting out there and having to go around them. I mean, that would be minor, but I guess that would be my biggest concern is how many times are we gonna be changing flags again?
Okay.
And I just want to echo again, if we do the veterans banners, we are committing from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, so May to
Yes.
November.
Yes.
And if they got, I mean, maybe they, I don't know if they sell out, that question I didn't ask, but so it would be 12, that would be consistent through that whole time frame.
But the namesake ones in Wausau, they stay there. Those same namesakes wouldn't come here too, would they? Would they get both places or would we be able to add more people?
They would be able to add more
Good.
people.
Good, that's great.
So my question is for Memorial Day and Flag Day and July 4th, are the patriotic banners also going to be up?
I think we could do that. We would switch them at the same time.
That's 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
We would, when we put up the veterans banners, we'd put up a patriotic one on the
Yeah,
other.
I mean, unless you wanted to sell 48 veteran banners, that's the Legion one for 24 posts, that's 2 per post, that's 48 banners. So if we split that in half and they sold 24 and
But they print two-sided, so they would.
decided, but I'm saying there's 2 banners per pole. Times 24 is 48?
48,
There's
yep.
24 polls, there's gonna be 48.
Yes. Yeah. And our current banners are 2-sided.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be, 30 and the remainder, so, yeah. Okay. Done? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, hold it, Steve.
Can we just restate the motion? Because there was 3 different recommended languages.
So
for
it's Wyland's motion.
I think I think I might have it laid out here, but I move to approve moving forward with the coronation of 2026 Veteran Avenue honor banners along Schofield Avenue, utilizing existing patriotic flags as needed to visibly honor our veterans and demonstrate our community's commitment to recognizing their service. Additionally, I move the veteran flags remain displayed from Memorial Day and the patriotic flags remain up through Flag Day and July 4th each year. So.
Anyone second or you want a second?
I guess so we're gonna have the veterans flags up according to their schedule, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're gonna have the
Patriotic,
patriotic flags.
until we switch the winter ones.
Okay, are we gonna ever have on the other side Village in Weston?
I could put a few of those up. It doesn't have to be exactly half or a third, just a couple locators, right? Do you agree with that?
Patriotic banners do say Village of Weston.
Oh,
right?
they
do.
Done?
do
Okay,
identify
well,
us.
then take care of
Done.
that.
Done. Good, done?
Okay, yeah.
I was just looking for a second because we had a motion on the floor, but we didn't have a second.
I had the
Second's here.
second
So it's
originally,
the
but I
original-
wanted to.
The original motion
I'll
and
make
the
sure.
original second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All approved. 55, discussion and or action purchasing an air tow.
54.
Well, let's do 54 then. Discussion and or action on Yellow Banks Park kayak launch bid results.
Move to award the Yellow Banks Park kayak launch reconstruction contract to PGA Inc. for a project base bid amount of $110,353.57.
Motion by Cronin. Second by Wyland. Any more on the discussion? Go ahead.
Did they correct the road width and everything else in there, or
Yeah,
what is that? 24 feet or,
it's 24 and I think 30 at the street.
okay,
And that was the question at the committee. Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? So carried. 55, discussion and or action on purchasing an air tow trailer.
Is this in the budget?
Yes.
Is this a want or a need?
It's a need because our current trailers are overloaded if we try to use them.
It's in the
I'll
budget.
move,
It's in the budget.
Yeah, let's get it on the floor first.
I'll move to approve the purchase of an air tow trailer from 51 Trailer Sale for $22,799.
So we have a motion by Zagami,
Second,
second by Jordan. Any more in discussion?
we had a lot of discussion about
Yes,
this
I know, and I just remembered all.
in the committee meeting.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Discussion and or action on buying out the lease for the current street sweeper.
I'll move,
Okay, go ahead.
I'll move to buy out the existing street sweeper, lease and purchase the current street sweeper for $186,320.
So we have a motion by Zagami,
Second,
second by Jordan. On the discussion. Barb?
Discussion. The street sweepers seem to wear out pretty faster. And sometimes we end up buying or leasing new ones before the old ones are paid for. Is this an issue?
We're buying this one. We're buying out the lease.
buying out the.
Yes, we're buying out the
Yep.
lease,
Yeah.
but
It's about a what, $500,000 machine? How much
Yeah,
are-
correct. Yeah, I mean, the latest quote we got for a replacement was about 400,000, so
And we use it once a week?
roughly,
Okay, is,
sometimes more.
I'm just gonna, we're in discussion. Is there any thought that we would go up to another community, anyone, just start with one and say, hey, we're only using ours once. Would you want to use ours 2 days? This one can use it once and we have one machine. Now, would we burn it out that fast? I mean, I would think they're supposed to be used more than once a day,
Yeah,
once a week, because Merrill has them running nonstop,
So the reason,
nonstop.
the reason that we can buy out the lease is because it has more value
Yeah,
than the residual lease right now, because we don't put it on.
yeah, okay. I'm just,
I know we've discussed that in the past and like, you know, for construction projects, I mean, we're sweeping Schofield Ave regularly. We use it for hydro vacuuming for our like storm sewer locates.
so it's more of a multi, it's not one of those Elgins. That, you know,
Yeah, it's-
Merrill seems to have, maybe it is an Elgin, but
It's an Elgin, but it's not the Pelican
they
that.
have like the
is-
Dairy Queen looking, you know,
Yeah.
the nose and everything. I've never seen it on my street, ever. So I mean, maybe it never goes on residential streets, but
Yeah.
it probably goes on Schofield, Camp Phillips or whatever. But
Yeah, and after winter, like, I mean, it is out every day after winter for picking up all the sand and grit from the snow melts, so.
But where? You know, where we observe it, you know, to bad areas? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we start with the commercial corridors and then go get through residential.
We actually-
How do you get on the list? Okay, I'm sorry.
I think we should use it more often on Schofield Avenue, Ross Avenue, Fowler.
Yep. I know.
These are the busy road and
Mhm.
create a lot of dust. So I think we can use that machine more often than what we're using it right now.
Just need somebody to run.
Yeah, we need more people.
Okay. Gordon?
I assume that because it's being leased, there's a maintenance program on it right now, or no?
No,
So
no,
everything that needs to take place with that machine, we take care of.
correct, yeah.
Really?
We had purchased our prior one that we leased, we had the maintenance contract, which our mechanic staff didn't feel we ever got value out of, cause we paid more to have, you know, to add, as that add-on for the maintenance of it, when, you know, we're paying guys to change out brooms or a belt when they're like, we could do that in, you know, half an hour. We don't need to have somebody come up here and do that for us, so.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. 57, discussion and or action on budget amendments for Fund 20 grants. Motion to approve by Ermeling.
I'll second that.
Second by Cronin. Anything on this for discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Any attorney referrals? None. Administrator referrals?
Well, yeah, I guess I have one. I know in the past, we've talked about starting the budget process a little bit earlier than we have. And the comment from Jessica tonight kind of just sparked that, so. I don't know if we can start seeing some of that stuff a little bit earlier than we have in the past, if that's a possibility, so we can
I
start
think
getting some
we
discussion
will
going.
certainly see that at a retreat, right?
We can talk about budget during
There'll
retreat.
definitely be a budget segment.
The first big thing is, are there priorities? What are those priorities?
Right.
What are we setting as the goals for 2026 budget?
Yep.
And that could even be an agenda item for next month, to talk about what are we setting the priorities
I would
as?
like that.
Okay.
Okay. Any more administrative referrals? None? Remarks from trustee, newbie, anything new? Any remarks that you have?
Just thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve. I look forward to working with you guys for the next few years. And then just one comment, you know, I'm new to this. I guess I would just ask that we be very careful about knowing what our motion is. Because we saw a few times tonight where somebody's making a motion to discuss an item and then we're going to approve it, but we haven't actually had the motion on what the language is gonna be. So I would just say, making sure that we understand the motion carefully before we're voting.
Well, so are you talking about the motion and get it on the floor or the approval?
So a
motion?
few times tonight, we had a motion, like trustee Wyland,
Yeah.
with the last item, had made a motion to discuss it, but then she had an actual language motion that she wanted to put out there. So I think
Okay.
we just need to be careful about not rushing to the vote when there might be an actual
Right.
motion to.
That's true. So at the last meeting, trustee Wyland actually asked for different scenarios when you want to approve something. And which now tonight's packet had it in there.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of us kind of looked at some of those different ones and which one are we gonna go with?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good point. I think it's, I know Jamie had brought up that you wouldn't normally have it in a negative, but actually some of the options are pretty good. So good. Good point though. Yeah. Yeah, way to tell us what the hell to do. Joel, sorry. Good. Jamie? Good. Cronin?
Welcome aboard, Louis. I have nothing else.
Okay. Zhang, Husheng?
Yes, we vote to hire an architect to review the plan for Kennedy Park. Did we do that, or we have somebody on board?
Or the REI, Samuel's group are,
REI is not architect.
Samuel's group is the architect with them.
Engineer is not architect. He can claim it, but he's not.
The Samuel's group has architects on their staff.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I like to see after they improve the plan, their architectural idea is there. I like to see I think this board like to see the plan.
Okay.
For, I could ask you
For
later.
architectural improvement.
Barb?
No, just, my brain just went out the door. Jamie, I had sent you a copy of the letter I received. Did you get a chance to? Because I would not, she wanted me to support, and like I said, I don't support anything that unless the board supports it, so.
I did forward it to Michael. I just think he and I would have to touch base about it, but neither one of us received the letter, and I don't know, it was about supporting that rail transport. So, but we'll circle back on that one.
Sorry.
You give me my spot?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had one more referral written down here and I just, so do I need to ask for the Stillwater thing to come back, or do we talk about that enough that it's gonna come back as another agenda item?
Yeah, that'll come back.
That'll come back.
Okay, that's all.
So, I don't have anything too serious here, but I do wanna know, since I haven't heard about it. Was it us that decided the white stripe going out of our driveway and then going down Ross Avenue?
Very hip.
What?
It's very hip.
It's totally hip. I mean, I watched it. I was on the phone with the chief when I actually noticed it, and I followed it all the way down the Green Heck and then left up towards Target. I mean, now it looks like somebody dusted it off or went at it a little bit with something. Was it just a nozzle that opened up on a machine?
It was a bucket that tipped over in the back of a pickup truck as somebody.
20-gallon bucket, 30?
I think it was a 5-gallon.
Oh,
bucket.
no. No, that's a big bucket. That was a lot of white stuff going everywhere. Anyway, I just, comical. Mistakes happen. I have
My
nothing
comment was
else.
he drove pretty straight.
What?
My comment was he drove
Well,
pretty straight.
and whoever this was stayed on the white line.
I know.
At the end, on Ross, I thought, wow, this is just ingenious,
He drove pretty straight.
Yeah, pretty good. So that was pretty cool. That's all I have. Future items, next meeting, Monday, July 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. I'm asking anyone that wants changes or anything to do with appointments or committee meetings, let me know. I'll reach out. And but otherwise I think we have it on everyone, HR, finance. I think we have a couple nice candidates tonight that we could certainly ask. And we only have to replace Nikki, right? Yeah.
Yep, and then we do have that opening on CDA,
On
which
CDA.
again meets infrequently, but will have an important role as we close step one.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Cronin. Come on, Louis.
I'll second.
Second by Louis.
Great.
Woo, first one, first night. Wow. Last opportunity. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so carried at 7:58. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.